Hi, everybody. Welcome to today's show on the Gamut Network. I am so thrilled to have the guest on today. His name is Danny Farber. I have now known him for quite a few years, and I'm thrilled to say that he's become a friend and somebody that I admire very much in the industry of fashion. And he has become a pioneer and a trailblazer in a world that you're going to hear all about. So with that, I'd like to introduce Danny to the show. Hi, Danny.
Hi there, Mindy, and hi everyone there. It's an honor to be here.
We're so happy to have you. I would first like to start a little bit with your story as Danny Farber before your professional journey, because I think your background and your experience really is important for our viewers to hear because it relates so deeply to where you are right now.
Sure. Well, I pretty much grew up in the fashion industry. Both sides of my parents, their parents they were dress manufacturers.
Mm.
So I grew up in from college. I knew that if I was going to be in the apparel industry, that I first had to learn what buyers expected and store management expected from the manufacturers. So I decided to join the Macy's training program, executive training program, which was an incredible experience. From there, a couple of years, it was pretty about 3.5 years working there, I got an amazing offer to leave the retail side and go to the manufacturing side, where I had the opportunity to work for Tommy Hilfiger. Tommy, at the time, was a division of Merjani, and I worked with Tommy and his crew in sales for about 1.5 years. From there, I worked for Calvin Klein for 8 years, then Donna Karan for DKNY, then back at Calvin as a division president. I worked for Jennifer Lopez and worked for Seven Jeans for the past 15, 16 years.
And that's where you are today.
And that's where I am today. Today, I am EVP of Sunrise Brands.
Fantastic. And during this very impressive career that you've had in the fashion industry, I am curious if you had ever experienced or heard of the term adaptive clothing.
Okay, well, that's an interesting story. I had never heard of the word adaptive when it applies to clothing. And the only reason why I discovered the word adaptive clothing was 2 years ago in January. I actually watched a fashion show where the models were all non-ambulatory. And at that moment in watching it, a light bulb went on in my head, and I started asking myself questions. Do we have to manufacture our clothing differently for someone in a seated position?
Mm.
Do we have to do other things for people? And then it went from seated to ambulatory. What happens if you don't have an arm? How are you buttoning things? All of a sudden, I went to the books. I went online and I did the research. How many people in the United States have a disability, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. From that research, I pretty much got these statistics on my own. I had this aha moment of, oh my God, I'm in this industry for such a long time, really from the beginning of my life. And it never occurred to me that a person with a disability could use something that would make, that could create ease of dressing so that their lives could be so much easier to wear clothing. And with that aha moment, I decided I want to be part of this change.
Mm.
I want to be a leader in this new term, adaptive, that I never heard of before. And it also hit a personal note for myself, because as a child, young adult, I had a very bad stuttering problem. in addition to that, I am dyslexic. And though being dyslexic, I grew up with all my friends the same age, but that created a reading disability.
Mm-hmm.
And I found myself in elementary school in 6th grade, getting ready to go to middle school, that I was almost 3 years behind in reading skills and comprehension because of this. And
that made you feel different, right? How could it not? You were not the same as the other kids in your learning process.
That is correct. And so the kids didn't necessarily know I was behind in reading and comprehension, but what they did know is my stuttering problem.
Mm.
And as kids will always be kids, they will make fun of the person who is different.
Right.
And even though I didn't have a visible disability, I had a visible. And that's where, it was painful.
I would imagine.
But I had to find other ways to A, help me speak, and B, deal with any anger issues that come with that. Because as you know, every child who's made fun of gets very angry.
And there's a lot of emotion behind feeling different.
That is correct.
And just with something as normal and typical as speaking. I mean, that is so relatable in the world of disability. It just was a different form for you.
That's right. And I remember to this day being in the classroom, and you got your rows of students in the classroom. And at that time, I always put myself in the back of the room because I'd be the last to be called on to read aloud. And I couldn't read aloud because I would stutter. And it was incredibly painful. So I was fortunate that my parents were very caring, and they helped me through the process of getting caught up in my reading and comprehension skills, but also to deal with the anger. And I became a percussionist.
Oh, wow.
And at age, yeah, it's very smart parents. And I wanted to play the drums. They first told me that I had to learn the piano for 1 year first to learn the chromatic scale. But then at age 7, I was playing the drums. And from age 7 through college and after college, I was playing drums and all percussion instruments. What did that do for Danny? For Danny, not only did it help me funnel my frustrations to a very positive experience, but it also gave me confidence.
Mm.
It gave me confidence in who I was.
No discussion.
That's right. Because when you're made fun of, your confidence level goes to 0. And like all musicians, all we did is practice, practice, practice. And I was able to achieve all county, all state positions. My professors wanted me to go to Juilliard or to Eastman. I chose not to go that direction, but I put a lot of my time into my abilities of playing. So that was my childhood experience and how I can share those feelings of being made fun of with this disability.
Absolutely. And I'm sure that really played an important part. Once you had that aha moment, you could have empathy for those that couldn't wear the jeans that you were making, the 7 jeans. If you had a physical disability or cognitively, you couldn't put the top of the button in the buttonhole because you couldn't mentally do that. You weren't able to wear 7 jeans. And so for that aha moment, not only did you see this as an opportunity and something that you wanted to get involved in, but it was relatable to you personally.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. That aha moment I told myself that I have to be part of this change. Mm-hmm. I know what they're going through. I
Yeah.
know what the community is going through, and I want to make their lives easier. And the first time I read about a person who has a disability, their first battle of the day, once they wake up, is how am I going to get dressed? I said, I have to be part of making that easier.
And you certainly are. And so let's talk about let's fast forward to, we had a great opportunity to meet a couple years
Yes,
ago.
we did.
I believe it was at a speaking engagement I was doing in New York. And even from that very minute when you spoke to me after I was done speaking, I could feel your passion, your excitement, your drive, that I knew that you were going to make this happen. And one thing that I was so incredibly impressed with, that I definitely want our viewers to understand, is that you could have, being in the fashion industry, said, I got this. I'm gonna figure out how to do adaptive clothing. You didn't go that route. You said, I need to understand this population. I need to be able to do this with the population. And we certainly then connected after that, because you gleaned that my experience could help make this your product as authentic as possible. And we started engaging. And I definitely want to underscore that, because that's what makes your product, 7 Adaptive Jeans, so good, because you didn't do it in a vacuum, because you included this population. Can you tell us a little bit about that part of the creation, or how you really first started, since we had that opportunity to meet?
Sure, I can. Well, first of all, after that aha moment and meeting you, all these doors opened up. Once I decided I want to be part of this, doors opened up by first meeting you, and meeting people like Lucy Jones, Grace John, Jillian herself, Stephanie Thomas. I called everyone, and I asked advice from everyone, because I knew I couldn't do it by myself. I had to learn. I had to learn what the needs were, understand the needs, and try to figure out, okay, how can I best make a pair of jeans that works for the disability community? So using your organization, we used your models, who were great, because through the design and fitting process, you're always tweaking, using your models to give you the information needed to make adjustments of what works and what doesn't work. For example, on our jeans, where we have a slit on the bottom of the jean, we actually first made the slit going slightly different, the back panel being on top of the front panel. And through conversation with your models, they said, no, we need it the other way, because it's too difficult for us to open it up ourselves. The other thing I thought of, and we thought of, my designer, myself, people who have a prosthetic leg or a brace who need a slit, we had just thought, well, that's the purpose of the slit on the jean, and we made it short to the mid-calf. Well, after talking to your team and other people in the disability community online, they were very, very helpful. I just want to point that out. We actually made the slit longer, because now it allows to be able to put a bag and adjust different things on the leg. So that communication helped us make our jeans better.
And that's such an important point about the population of people with disabilities. They are so excited and vocal about products that are meant for them, that they are always going to be your best resource. And not only did you put the question out there, but you listened to them and fixed it. And that
Exactly.
is part of the whole process, and what makes these jeans so fantastic.
Thank you. Story to tell you. I was fortunate to be part of the Zappos presentation in your runway show of Runway and Dreams. And it was very important for me to meet the 3 models who were wearing my jeans in the fashion show. I just wanted to talk to them, introduce myself, learn something from them. And Jacob, I remember, after the show, I went back to his side. I met his mother, his father, his grandparents, and I said to him, Jacob, you're wearing 7 jeans. How does it feel? And he got a big smile on his face. The same time he had the big smile on his face, his mother starts crying.
Yeah.
His father starts crying. I said, well, these jeans are yours. I want you to have them. And tell me what you like and what you don't like. It was so important. And the joy from coming from his family, I will never forget.
And isn't that amazing that that joy was generated by a pair of jeans?
A pair of jeans.
When we take a step back, generally being a part of the fashion industry is, you know, you're not curing cancer, you're not putting people on the moon, but we actually do have the power to change people's lives while they live it, because confidence and the notion of what you gave to Jacob from a pair of jeans is equally as important as what other industries can do, because we're changing lives, and you are a part of that. You are a part of a moment in this young man's life that he never got to experience before from a pair of
goosebumps.
Yes, but it's so important, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to start the Gamut Network, is because I need the world to understand the importance of this. This is, you know, under shelter and food, clothing is right up there of the basic needs we need as human beings. And having the ability to feel that you fit in, or feel that you can show up to the world dressed in a certain way, is a direct correlation to how you feel about yourself and self-esteem. And that is something that is 7 Adaptive is really helping to shape. Now I want to transition a little bit into the modifications that you have in the product, because I want our audience to really understand that how much thought went into this, and how the ease of dressing is really helping to have everybody wear jeans.
Okay, I'll take you through it. So like any apparel company, we look at best practices of other people who were there before us. When I started looking to see, well, who made adaptive clothing, there really wasn't anybody who made adaptive clothing that I felt was appropriate for younger generations. A lot of the clothing was very pedestrian. A lot of the clothing was for clothing you might wear in a hospital.
Mm-hmm.
And I just,
for the elderly.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
And looking at all the small companies that I know are struggling to do something to help personal people in their family and in their families, and they have created these businesses. I just knew that working for Sunrise Brands, I can probably do a lot better. And the one brand that I think is doing a brilliant job at it, and the one and only big brand doing it, is the Tommy Hilfiger brand. I mean, they're brilliant, and their solutions are brilliant. So we looked at what Tommy did, but I looked at every company out there. I bought as many samples as possible. I wasn't looking to do their brand, but I wanted to see best practices. Then I wanted to talk to the community to see, okay, what really works and what doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
So the question was, well, I need a slit in the bottom of my jeans. So men's styling, lady styling is all about skinny jeans. And well, how can I put on a pair of skinny jeans if I have a brace? How can I put on a pair of skinny jeans if I have a prosthetic leg? And you know, the solution has always been, okay, well, I create a slit. And there were many solutions. Some were magnetic closures on the leg. but we chose to take a micro Velcro. So it's a little bit more expensive. It's Velcro brand Velcro. It's a little bit more expensive than the traditional Velcro. It's very small, but we did testing on it, and it doesn't break apart. It has a longer life than standard Velcro after wash. So we did that. So that was our solution for the leg. Our solution for the fly, I thought the best thing for the fly, especially if you are wearing a standing jean, for someone who's ambulatory, but doesn't have two arms, and that's one of the things I encourage my designers to think about. You have a person here who has one arm. How are they getting dressed? How are they buttoning things? How are they putting things on? And how can we make it easier?
Mm-hmm.
So we chose, and we want to have an authentic jean. Very, very important that it looks authentic. So we took the faux front, we made the jean itself at the shank, and it's a real shank, real sewn down buttonhole, but it's faux. The button doesn't go through it. It looks like a real jean with a shank. And then for the fly, instead of a zipper, because zipping things with one hand is very difficult, we use magnetic technology.
Mm-hmm. And let me just also point out that it is also incredibly helpful, and this is why I brought the modifications to Tommy before this all started, is for the part of the population that has low muscle tone or not able to, or has occupational therapy issues. They also cannot put a button through a buttonhole, the strength that it takes, the manipulation of your fingers. So these type of modifications expand so far across different types of disabilities. And that the really the purpose in, first partnering with Tommy to show them that this can help so many different types of disabilities. And it is just so wonderful to know that that has then translated to 7 adaptive as well.
Yes, well, it's such a great solution, especially visually, because the jeans actually look like button fly jeans.
And that's so important.
Which look fantastic. And so I'm very pleased with that. In some of our women's jeans, we actually offer fit solution. So we actually have a tummy panel in our jeans, and on a particular jean where we don't have a zipper or a fly we still have the shank, we still have the stitching of a fly, but it's completely faux. And we have two side openings, almost looking like the old painter pant, where we use micro Velcro. Mm-hmm. But inside that, we actually have tummy panel that is sewn to where the Velcro is across the front panel of the jean. So it's a high-rise tummy panel jean for a good fit solution, and which is very popular in the Missy denim market.
That's amazing. So Danny, I'm sure everybody's so excited now to actually buy the product. Where can they find the jeans?
You can find the jeans at 77jeans.com. So it's SEVEN numeral 7 jeans.com. You can also get them at Zappos Adaptive at Macy's.com and Kohl's.com.
Amazing.
There are a couple of small organizations like everyhuman.com, which is out in Australia. Mm-hmm. So, and there are also a few other smaller .coms, but those are the larger stores where they're in stock today.
Amazing. And how wonderful that it's through mainstream outlets, which is so important for our adaptive movement, that this just needs to be a part of the fashion conversation and just simply a new division within the portfolios of these brands, no different than plus size. And
that is exactly right.
That 7 Adaptive is clearly making strides on that. And we are so grateful to have you on the show talking about this amazing product. But before we go, I'd like to ask all of my guests a question about something that's very important to me, which is the notion of a vision board and manifesting what you want to see out of your life. And I have grand visions, as you can imagine, as to where this show is going to go, where Adaptive is going to go, where everything that I want in life. On your vision board, Danny, where do you see the adaptive movement going?
My vision for it is to be offered in every brand. Every brand is striving to be inclusive. They're striving to offer gender-free. They're striving in extended sizes, and I want every brand to now offer adaptive clothing.
Love it. I'm right there with you. I'm going to put that on my board too. Danny, thank you so much for joining us today. It was really, really wonderful to talk to you. And I encourage our viewers to please go check out the 7 adaptive jeans. They are absolutely amazing. And the more support that we can give to brands that are trying to include people with disabilities, then we can expect all brands to do them. If you would like to be a guest on the Gamut Network, please email us at talent@gamutmanagement.com and tell us why you would be a great guest. And please go like us on our social channels of Gamut Management and go to see more interviews like this on the Gamut Network on YouTube. Thank you again, Danny.
Thank you.